Folks, my name is Glenn Vergy, aka Coach Glenn. I want to talk to you today about why you're not getting results from your workouts. I can tell you that the number one reason most people are struggling to get the results they're looking for when they're working out at home or at the gym or elsewhere is their intensity is too low. And I'm gonna try and be respectful when I say this, but when I mean intensity is too low, meaning you're not lifting heavy enough. You're not challenging yourself enough. If you are grabbing 10-pound dumbbells and you can whip off 30 or 40 reps, you're not going to get any stronger. You're not going to change the size or the tone of the muscle tissue. Essentially, you would probably be better off grabbing a jar of pickles and curling it in your kitchen because it's about the same intensity level. It's not really doing a whole lot for you. Yes, and let me back up before I insult anyone. Anytime you do anything that overloads your system or that gets you to move versus just sitting and being sedentary is great. But if your goal is, I want to get ripped, I want to get shredded, I want to be strong, the time I'm putting in when I'm working out, I want it to count 4, 8, 12 weeks from now, a year from now. Well, then if that's the case, then you have to be lifting. If you want to get stronger and you want to get more ripped or toned, you've got to be lifting at least at 80% of your maximum. So let's use push-ups for an example. If you fall on the floor right now and you know that 10 push-ups is the most you can absolutely do, then in your workout tomorrow, do 8. Because 8 out of 10 is 80%. You could do the same thing for chin-ups. You could do the same thing for any exercise. I mean, obviously, for most of us, our lower body is stronger, and by doing body weight, for the most part, we're gonna adapt very quickly. So maybe don't try and do as many squats as you can because you may end up doing 200. But for the most part, for the exercises that you're picking, whether it's free weight, whether it's stacked weights, whether it's body weight, you want to make sure that your intensity is at least at 80%. So if you're at home and you don't have a lot of equipment and you're relying on your body weight for the majority of your strength routine, that's great. But figure out what your failure number is. So say if you've got a TRX at home and you're doing TRX rows, it's hooked into a door frame or it's hooked into something, and depending on how lengthened it is or depending on the angle of your body, say you get as many as say it's 20. Say 20 is the most you can do. Well, then figure out a way to make it harder. So you're only doing maybe 12 to failure, and then you'll do 10 for your workout. 10 out of 12 is approximately 83%, and there you go. You're in that right intensity range where you're going to start to see results and get stronger or get more toned. And that's ultimately what you want. You want to get results. You don't want to be putting your time in to see nothing at the end. So hopefully that makes sense and that helps, folks. And I don't want to be disrespectful for those of you that do a lot of repetitions with your weights, with lightweight. But I'm an old school coach. And if some of you are familiar with Cobra Kai, the new series on Netflix, I'm kind of like Sensei Lawrence when I coach. I don't tolerate people doing a little bit or half-assing it. I mean, I've been known in my years in the gym to be calling people pussies because simply I don't feel they're getting enough effort. And I'm hoping it doesn't offend anyone here, but just so you know, that's my style. I'm not going to sit here and give you the mercy or the golf clap. I want you to push yourself. I want you to get results. I want you to make sure that the time you're putting in and the effort you're putting in, you're going to be rewarded with the energy you're looking for, the better body you're looking for, less fat around the waist you're looking for, bigger muscles. And I want to help you get there. So number 2 is maybe you don't have enough time under tension. Now what that means is, say if you're doing a chin-up. If you're doing chin-ups really, really fast, and say you do 8 chin-ups in 8 seconds, well, that's really only 8 seconds where you've got tension on the muscles. That isn't enough time, especially if you know that you can do way more than 8 reps. So for one, your intensity is too low, and 2, 8 seconds isn't enough time for you to get stronger, knowing that 8 isn't even close to your max. So what I'm going to recommend you do for all your exercises is maybe for the next month, start with a 3-second pause in between each exercise. So say if you're doing chin-ups, for example, or a lat pull down, the 3 seconds is going to be when, if you're doing chin-ups, when the bar is level with your eyes or your chin, or if it's a lat pull down, when the bar is level with your chin, or if you're doing a press up or a dumbbell press or push-ups. Basically, when your arms are bent and either the weight is close to your chest, or if you're doing a push-up, you're close to the floor, hold it there for 3 seconds. When you're doing squats, when you get to the very bottom, hopefully you're doing full range of motion squats and you're getting your ass almost to the floor, hold it there for 3 seconds. If you're doing a hamstring exercise or you're doing a glute exercise, hold it in the middle for 3 seconds. Just try that for the next month. And say you're doing 10 repetitions right now. Well, now you've added 30 seconds to that exercise in addition to what you're already doing. And now you're getting up to that range where you're going to start to feel some stiffness or soreness the next day. You're going to start to feel some of the muscle fibers microscopically tear apart, and that's what's the pain receptors are starting to go nuts, and that's why you're feeling a little stiff or sore. You might even get a little bit of lactic acid. But what that means is you've gone far enough that you're going to induce change in that tissue. And that's what you want. You want to get stronger. You want to get bigger. You want to get leaner. You have to make sure you have enough time under tension to give your body that overload it's looking for, so you can notice change, and then you change your variables every month. You can't do the same thing all the time, folks. Yes, you can do the same exercises every month. Say you're very limited, maybe you're at home and you don't have much equipment, but changing the variables, so maybe changing your reps, changing your sets, changing the tempo of each repetition. Maybe for month 1, you have a pause in the middle. Maybe for month 2, your eccentric, or when the muscle is lengthening phase of your exercises, maybe you do all your exercises for month 2 with a 3-second eccentric, meaning for push-ups, it would be 3 seconds down. For chin-ups, it would be, once you're pulling yourself up, it'd be 3 seconds to straighten your arms. If it's squats, it would be 3 seconds down. So those variables is what I'm talking about. You know, also the variable that is often overlooked is rest. Most people are taking way too much rest in between sets. Now, unless you are a serious power lifter and you're doing 1, 2, 3 repetition maxes at the gym and you're lifting a lot of weight, yes, then you need considerable amount of rest in between exercises. But if you're going from machine to machine or station to station in your basement, you don't need a ton of rest, folks, especially if you're not anywhere close to failure, if you're not lifting heavy. And what I mean by heavy is heavy for you. So if you're not anywhere close to 80, 90, 100%, you don't need a ton of rest. You could go from one exercise to the next. Yes, it's basically turning into a little bit of a circuit at that point, but that's okay. Until you're getting into that lower rep range of 1, 2, 3, 4 reps where you're going really, really, really heavy, and you're pulling and you're pushing a lot of weight, that's when you need a ton of rest. When you're up and when your reps are higher and when your goals are different, if your goal is to tone, obviously your reps are not going to be that low. So if your goal is, I just want to get shredded in the gym, then obviously your reps are going to have to be higher, but you're going to have to do a lot more variety. You're going to have to increase your time under tension, and you really don't need a ton of rest. You want to burn yourself out. If the goal is, okay, I want to get shredded, because you're trying to get in there and do as much as you possibly can in the shortest amount of time, to increase your intensity, increase your time under tension, and just completely fatigue and go to failure as much as possible. So I'll just quickly touch on that, but I can go deeper into that in another video if you folks would like. But the last biggie that I want to share with you, especially maybe you're not into strength training or resistance training, but I highly recommend that you should start. It's a great way for you to enjoy your later years, so to speak. Typically, the stronger you are, the longer the longer you're going to live, and the quality of your life is going to be better. And science and studies have shown us that the higher or stronger your grip strength, the longer you will live. That has been proven. So if you're not picking up a dumbbell or picking up barbells or picking up heavy things, picking up heavy kettlebells, and you're not strengthening your grip, then you're going to notice the quality of your life in your later years will deteriorate and you'll suffer. So I would highly recommend, if you're not currently doing a lot of resistance training, you got to start. But the other one I want to touch on, maybe you're big time into cardio work, and maybe you're just not seeing the results, or maybe you've plateaued, and it might be because you're in that chronic cardio zone. And what that typically means, folks, is that if your heart rate is 180 minus your age, so say I'm almost 50, so for me, I'm 48, so 180 minus 48 is going to be 132. So for me, if I want to stay in the aerobic zone, which is heart safe, heart healthy, I want to make sure that when I'm going for my brisk walking, or my casual biking, or any hiking in the summer, I want to make sure that my heart rate is staying below 132. So 180 minus your age is your safe aerobic training zone. When you get above that, so say for instance, if you're 50 years old, 180 minus 50 is 130. If you're training consistently at 140, 150, 160, and you're going out for jogging, or you're doing a lot of cycling, road cycling when the weather's nice, or you're doing spin classes on your bike, if your heart rate is in that zone, what scientists call the chronic cardio or the black hole zone, you're doing a ton of damage, folks. It's actually not that helpful for you. It increases inflammation, increases fat loss. It's horrible for your joints. Way too much lactic acid, puts a lot of inflammation and stress on the heart when your heart rate is chronically in that zone. Now, once you get between or above 180 minus your age and up to 90%, that's the bad zone you want to avoid. When you get to 90% or higher, that's what we would typically call doing a sprint workout or sprint interval workouts. So essentially that would be doing something full out. Now maybe you're completely healthy and able-bodied, and you can go down to your local track, or there's a field near your house, and you can do a 50-yard sprint full out, or an 80-yard sprint full out, or whatever. And you say your heart rate gets above 90% for that brief 10, 12, 15 seconds, that's okay. Our bodies were designed to move frequently at a slow pace, to lift heavy things, and to sprint once in a while. Anything else is not what our genes have designed us to do. So by doing an hour on the spin bike where your heart rate is at 75, 80% is not healthy for you in the long run. If you want to do that once a week, great. But if that's your daily routine, you're probably going to notice over time that you're going to have a plateau with your results. You're going to have a plateau with how you look and feel. And eventually over time, it's going to be not very healthy for your heart. So I would highly recommend changing that up, doing the majority of your cardio work in the 180 minus your age zone, or once a week or once every 2 weeks, get out there and do a full out sprint workout. Now, if maybe you've got a bad ankle, maybe you have a bad hip and you can't get out there on the grass or on the track and do a full sprint, well, guess what? You can do a full sprint on the bike. I have a VersaClimber in here. You can do a full sprint on the VersaClimber. I have a step mill in the corner. Harder to do that, but you can pick any piece of equipment and you can do a sprint on it. Obviously a bike's the easiest, a stationary bike, but you don't want to be focusing on doing something that's going to put your body at risk, maybe injure yourself. So just be smart when you're doing your sprint workouts. But again, when you're in that chronic cardio zone, it's not going to help you long-term. You're not going to, you might be sweating buckets, and maybe the app on your watch says you burned 900 calories in your 45-minute spin class. But long-term, that is not going to help you. And the reason is because when your heart rate is that high and you're in that chronic cardio or black hole zone between like 70 and 85, 90%, your body is burning carbohydrates for fuel. When you're in the aerobic zone, your body burns fats for fuel. So when your body starts burning carbs, guess what? Carbs are like kindling for a fire. They burn really, really fast, really, really quickly. You got to replenish them constantly. So unfortunately, when you do a hard activity where you're in that chronic cardio heart rate zone, your body's going to crave more carbohydrates for up to 36 hours. So that means you're going to go home and eat more carbs, probably carbs that you typically wouldn't eat. So if the goal is you want to be leaner, you want to have more energy, you want to melt off some fat, then what I would recommend is focusing on training in the aerobic zone where your body burns more fat. Not only will it burn more fat while you're doing the activity, you'll burn more fat at rest, which is what we all want. I mean, we all have fat to melt off. I would focus on increasing your intensity, lift a little heavier, push yourself a little harder, do that extra rep. I know Ed Milet calls it the power of one more. Do one more. And lastly, making sure that whatever repetitions that you're doing, regardless of the number, increase the time under tension. You don't want to be doing push-ups fast. Okay, you want to make sure that you're descending, or your eccentric part of your push-up is 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds with a pause at the bottom. You don't want to just be doing them blindly fast, because again, there's no time under tension. Your muscle tissue is not being taxed, and you'll very, very quickly hit a plateau and you'll see no results. So I hope that helps, folks. Again, my background as a strength and conditioning coach, this is my wheelhouse. So when it comes to exercise, getting stronger, helping sculpt your body, that's what I know really, really well. Also I have a lot of background in nutrition and supplements. So if your goal is to, you know what, coach, I really want to improve how I look and how I feel, I can help you. Now that I've transitioned into health coaching, obviously I've added a lot more to that repertoire: lifestyle habits, mindset, sleep. There's all sorts of things that you can do to help improve how you look, how you feel, and melt off some unwanted body fat as we age and as we get older. So hope that helps, folks. We'll talk to you again soon. I'm going to be coming to you weekly with information that I feel is going to help you on your journey to becoming a better version of you. Coach Glenn out, and we'll talk to you again soon.